How we doing, team? And welcome back to a brand new episode of the Simply Podcast. An episode that, in all honesty, I didn't think I was going to be making. I didn't think I was going to be making this. I kind of toyed with the idea for a while, but I feel like I need to make it. And you might be wondering why. Basically, there's been big reasons as to why I have missed a large portions of streaming and content creation, and I'm going to explain that all on this podcast. It's hard one for me to kind of talk about because it's a lot of issues that I personally wouldn't normally listen to myself, or wouldn't have done beforehand. But we're going to be talking a lot about kind of mental health, and where I was before and where I am now, and the reasons for why I had such a big break. Um, Obviously, I know this is not going to be everyone's kind of cup of tea. Some of this is going to be very hard to listen to. But it's an important one for me to make because it clears the air in my own head. Really, it's been a bit of a ropey ride for a little while, and we're finally in a place which is all good. I'm absolutely fine, but you are going to hear some very troubling things in this podcast, and um, the end outcome is good. The end outcome is good. I'm in a good place now, but I wasn't always. And I'm going to be kind of explaining a lot of that in this podcast. It's like I said, it was one I debated making for a while because I just didn't feel like it's something that people would want to listen to. But I'm not really making, as weird as it sounds, making a podcast. I'm not really making this to build the podcast. I'm making it as a kind of way for me to vent and kind of air some frustrations, but also give an explanation as to why things haven't been the same for a while, but also kind of an example to those that are struggling that things do get better. Um, so yeah, basically, I've got a list of things I've got to cover. I had to keep a list because I am awful at branching out and telling other stories, but um, this all started with think July. I was leaving. I'm going to mention companies in this. Even including the one that's key. Um, I have evidence of everything I'm going to say. I have proof of everything. Everything I'm telling you is the absolute truth. Some of you might tell me, "Oh, you need to sue and stuff like that." I'm just not going to do that. It's not worth the hassle for me personally. I'm happier where I am now, and I'm not wanting to go back into it to kind of get some personal gain. I'm better where I am now, and I don't want to have to go back. So, some of you are definitely going to tell me to sue. You're going to tell me to seek legal action of some sorts. No, I'm just not interested in it at the moment. I'd rather continue looking forward and looking back. So that's one of the reasons why I'm making this podcast. So anyway, yeah, this started roughly about July. I was looking to get out of retail. I was with Nike for close to 5 years. The best company I've ever worked for. I highly recommend anyone that is looking for a retail job or even just any kind of job and seeing Nike as an opportunity. It's an unbelievable place to work. I've had incredible opportunities with Nike, including being sent to Amsterdam for training. Being in the Netherlands training ground, unbelievable. Progression. I started as a 20-hour athlete, moved up to management, raised loads of money for charity, got sent to London on my birthday. It's honestly, I can't speak higher of the company. I really can't. And it was one of the best jobs I ever had, but I wanted to do retail. I wanted to do retail. I wanted my weekends off. I wanted a bit more structure. And with retail, it's hard to get that because you need the demand of the business means that you need to be a bit flexible. And it was it's a hard one for me to ask of the business. So realistically, I needed to leave to get that. So yeah, I was looking to leave. Saw this great opportunity to become a telecoms engineer. I had no training in this, but the job was going to give you full training. As it said, it give you full training. You get a van. It's self-employed, so I felt like that when they say self-employed, they said on the job description and the fact that you were going to be your own boss. So if I was to tell you you're going to be your own boss, you feel like that gives you a lot of flexibility. That's what I kind of saw it as. Flexibility, which is what we're looking for. You had weekends off. You never have to work any weekends. The fact you get your own van, tools are all provided. It seemed like a really good opportunity, and also it kind of open earnings, really. You also had a guaranteed earning for 6 months until you build up speed, and then you were on your own at that point where you were just earning whatever. And it looked like a really good opportunity, really, really good. They were going to bring me down to London. They were going to set me up in London for training. Then I'll be going back to Scotland to be with a buddy for a few weeks, and then eventually I'll be out on my own. But while still having that kind of £2,000 a month kind of thing is what they set me as. So while you were building up speed, you got about £2,000 a month, roughly. And it all seemed pretty good. Like, from what I've told you there, sounds like a decent opportunity. There was a lot of positives with this. If you're after money, it was a great idea. It looked amazing because as soon as I got in there, people were telling me, "Oh yeah, no, you can earn significantly more." I think at the time it was like, "Oh yeah, you could earn like 50 grand, 60 grand a year," which for someone that was in retail for ages, that's kind of dream money. You're not expecting to be earning that much right off the bat. But guys were telling me, no, you absolutely can, and you know what, you definitely can. Like, I'm not going to say you could definitely earn a lot of money from that job. Significant money. And nothing really told me otherwise that I couldn't. So, yeah, it was definitely really good there. Training was really, really good. For those that aren't interested in heights, it's probably not the right career for you, climbing telephone poles. But I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the climbing aspect. I enjoyed the kind of hands-on approach. It was really, really good. It was looking solid. Everything was looking up. But the first kind of hurdle came almost straight away, where there was a miscommunication from Kelly's to the recruitment agency that when I was going to be going into London, I was going to be going for 2 consecutive weeks down in London, and then I was going to be up north for 2 consecutive weeks with a buddy. That's what was portrayed, but I had to sort my own travel. So I was like, yeah, no, you know what, that's fine. I booked flights on the way down, paid for them on the way down, and I booked hotel as well. When I got down there, it's like, no, you're here for a week, you're in Scotland, and then you're back down for a week. And then I'm just kind of like, wait, what? Like, what? I've just spent all this money and it's not going to happen. So I spent a load of money there. I think in general, in the travel and accommodation for the first little bit, I probably spent near enough 800 quid. Near enough. It was a lot of money I spent. And because that wasn't just the accommodation, it was also food. It was also traveling. It just like within London. There was just a lot I had to spend, and it was. I wasn't too bad at the point. I managed to get a little bit of support from the parents, but I also had a fair bit of money at the point as well. So I was like, okay, fair enough. No, that's fine. So yeah, it first hurdle, but realistically, miscommunications happen. I was like, you know what? It's fair enough. It is what it is. I get back to Scotland. I get my own van. This van is on its last legs. It is not a great van at all. But it did the job when I was in Scotland. It did the job. It was like it got me from A to B. The kit that was in it wasn't bad. It looked all right. So I was like, oh yeah, no, that's not bad at all. The kit was I was like, I need to replace a couple of things here, but overall not bad. The van was a bit of a state from the person beforehand, but that was part of the reason why it was on his last legs. But I didn't think much of it until it came to the Sunday where I was going to travel down. Now, I had also arranged on the Sunday to go meet Staten because I was like, you know what? I'll set off early. I'll go meet Staten for lunch because Staten stays in Darlow, and I was gonna go meet him down there. Uh and we're gonna meet him for lunch and whatnot. It's great plan, and then obviously meet him for lunch. Head down to London. Bob's your uncle. Sounds great. The van then broke down in Gretna. I'd originally set down. I think it was about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning. I got to Gretna. I think about just before 11. I think it was, if I remember correctly. I was stuck in Gretna until probably about 3-4 o'clock. Because nobody could help me. I got extremely lucky that one of the guys that was heading down from Dundee was also passing Gretna and only just passed Gretna. At this point, I got very, very lucky. Otherwise, I wasn't going to be able to do the training for the second week, and would have from the sounds of things, it would not have done me well in longevity for the company. Because the training's kind of very essential. If you miss it, it's really not good. But that was the kind of impression I got, that you had to be there. You just had to be there on Monday morning. Which I just wasn't ideal. The fact that the lack of support wasn't ideal. I came from a company that would support you for everything to a company that just wouldn't. But we'll get a bit more into that later. So yeah, that was the first hurdle. Joining Kelly's, it was a rocky start. It was. Come back up to Scotland after the training. Training again was good. I enjoyed it. Come back up to Scotland to be with my buddy. One impression you get from pretty much everyone that you spoke to that worked for Kelly's is that every single person that had been there a while hated the job. Like it's not like anyone really said that they actually enjoyed it. Near enough, every single person said that they hated it, which doesn't bode well. A lot of people are literally just there for the money. There's very little support on the employee side. If I was to kind of argue with Kelly, say, oh, we've got a welfare number and stuff like that. Just having a place where people have to reach out, they have to go to somebody. There's nobody that actually really checks up on the employees. Like, no one actually actively goes and checks on them. It's all you have to do the legwork. Nobody will come to you. Which again is a different kind of environment to what I was used to. But yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit on that one. But yeah, the first impression I got, everyone hated the job. And you know what, the training overall wasn't too bad. I was understanding the fact that, I was still new, I was learning everything. When I was going to go out on my own, which I did eventually, there was going to be some long days, long days. One in particular, I remember, I started work every day at 8 a.m. And I think one time I didn't get home until near enough midnight because I was in St Andrews for a while, just trying to get the jobs in. And this one vibe I got hugely was the job was more important than the employee. But the fact is, we weren't employees, we were self-employed, we were contractors. All liability in that sense is not with them, it's with us, which is risky. It wouldn't have happened if I was working for BT, let me put it that way. But yeah, it was I had a few of those nights where I was out quite late. But I was like, you know what? The opportunity is here to earn decent money. The opportunity is here. I can see it. I can see the opportunity to earn lots of money. But what started to change realistically, and what made me so adamant I had to leave, starts with a couple. There's three big incidences that made me have to leave. Right? There's three big ones. Right? We'll start with the first. The first instance of why I had to leave Kelly's was near enough. I think it was about 2-3 weeks. No, 2 weeks after I'd gone solo. I think it was. I got locked in the chippy. Now, wondering what, how on earth that happens. Basically, you go into people's houses, you go into businesses, you're setting them up internet for the business. Businesses in particular, they're looking for it to be done there and then, or as quickly as possible. They expect no hiccups, more or less. The 9 times out of 10 is what they're expecting. So this chippy, I was just to go in, provide internet. It was meant to be an existing line. I was looking at it. The problem was the line that was in it before wasn't a BT one, and there was no evidence of a BT line anywhere in the building. I then had to try and investigate whereabouts there could be one. I couldn't see any evidence whatsoever, which means I would need to put this job back onto BT for them to come out and provide a new line, if that meant going underground. So yeah, it was. It didn't look great from the start. And then I was like, I went to the chippy owner and went, look, mate, I'm not going to be able to do this job. You've got Virgin Services here, but there's no sign of BT. And while I'm explaining this, the guy just all of a sudden interrupts me, going, he was kind of like just going off as not basically saying that I just didn't want to do the job. Basically, it was my fault that the job was going to fail, that I was the reason that there was no BT line in this chippy. And it was like, well, though, mate, I need a line to do this. This isn't pole fed. It's underground. It's going to cause BT to come out and potentially even have to dig up to try and get a line in. But like, I could put it onto BT and they'll explain the process to you. At this point, he's just having none of it. He's having none of it. And he just all of a sudden walks off, and I kind of ran, and I'm just like, oh, fair enough. Right, I'm going to grab all my tools and just leave at this point. I'm not going to deal with it. Next thing you know, all I hear is this big crash come down. And I'm like, what? What's going on here? Guys shut the shutter on me. There's a shutter at the back. I can't get out the back. And he shut the shutter at the front. I can't get out there either. And I'm just like, excuse me, mate. Can you let me out? And he's basically just shouted back at me, basically, you're not leaving until you get this done. And I'm just like, whoa. This has escalated massively all of a sudden. And I'm like, what on earth am I going to do here? And it's like, it's a chippy. Like, it's not like there was even food there for me to snack on or anything like, you know. But I was just like, Jesus, this is mental. This is absolutely mental. The fact that this is happening while this is stupid. What's going on? So at this point, I just don't panic. I don't panic at this point. I'm like, well, I'm in the right here. He's now just locked me in his own chippy. I can't get out. I'm just gonna phone the police. Like, I'm just like, there's just no point at this point. I'm gonna phone the police. So I phoned them. They said they'd be there in a few minutes. At this point, I just don't know what this guy's going mental outside. He's shouting all sorts. I can't remember like any specifics of what he was shouting. I was just kind of staying out of the way. This guy clearly, he was desperate for the internet to be set up because I think he wanted to open up the chippy that night, and his Virgin services were cut off. So I understand where his mindset was at. Like he's gonna have to go a day without business. But it's just not okay. It's just not okay to do that. So I understand why he's lost it at that point. I do. Like, I'm not unreasonable to understand why his head's there. But what he's acted afterwards is unacceptable and is illegal. So I phoned the police. They come out. All of a sudden, the guy's bottle goes completely, and he's all apologetic afterwards. I'm not looking to press charges. I just get out of there. I just want out. Now, one of the processes with Kelly's when you fail a job is that you then need to get a slip, and you also need to take some pictures. At that point, I hadn't taken any pictures. At that point, I'd also I'd explained to the customer. I don't think he'd fully understood, But I was like, he's just locked me in the chippy, and I've had to phone the police. I'm getting out of there. The police basically was like, well, if you're not pressing charges and everything's kind of de-escalated, we've kind of done our job. So I was like, yeah, no, that's fine. I'm off. So I get back to the van and then phone my manager, and he's not best pleased with what I've done. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, what? Basically, he's asking me straight away, why are you failing the job? And I should add, at no point during the conversation was I asked, am I all right? So I was like, okay. I kind of just shrugged it off, and being honest at this point, I didn't think much of it. I felt like maybe he's just having a bad day, and the focus is on the job. I was like, you know what, fair enough. I'll just, I won't make it a bigger deal at this point. But yeah, I explained why I failed the job. He then wanted me to go back into the chippy to take pictures. I said, absolutely no chance. Am I going back in there? Because by this point, I think the police had left. So I wasn't just going to ask the guy, can I go in and take pictures of your chippy? It just wasn't going to happen. Wasn't best pleased about that. I think I got a mark against me for that. But I was like, well, I'm absolutely in the right here. So it doesn't really matter at this point. And that was the first incident. That was the first one that kind of left me a bit, I don't know, just how the company's treating employees. But I was like, you know what? Maybe it's just a one-off. Until the next issue came up. Now this one's a bit extreme, right? This one is, yeah. I'd explained this one over one of my streams a little while ago, and it's it beggars belief a bit. Now, again, I need to point out the fact that I am going to be talking a little bit later about kind of my mental health and whatnot. This is one of the reasons why I don't hate anyone that's involved in this story, right? It could become very, very easy to hate somebody and resent somebody. I don't. It's easier to kind of just like look at it from other people's perspective, understand their perspective, and just kind of move on. It's just not worth my time kind of begrudging them by their actions. So I'll explain this one. So I when I had jobs, I would get a list of them. And basically, each job's priced at a certain price, and you complete it, you get paid for that job. So I had two £40 jobs at the same business. So £40 more or less the most expensive job you can get. So 40 quid per job. Sometimes you can get them done in an hour. You're working at 40 quid an hour, which is where that big wage comes from all of a sudden. And I was like, okay, right, this is interesting. For two at the same job. They're obviously looking for two lines for two separate things. Sometimes that could be for different reasons. Maybe they're looking to have one line for the telephones, another line for their internet. It's not uncommon for businesses to want that. Particularly, one example was I went to a funeral. I don't even know what they're called. Funeral centre? Doesn't seem right, but yeah. Went to there. They had one telephone line for the fax machine because it runs off a different number, and then one for the telephone. So that's sometimes how they work as well. But yeah, that was kind of what I was thinking when I was going in. And the business that it was a health centre, primarily a dentist, but it did also have healthcare facilities at the back for people that were ill in the area. So I go in. First of all, I always look around the building. I look to see if they've got lines existing. They had 4 lines existing beforehand. I was like, oh, right, okay, this looks all right. If I'm allowed to take any of those lines, I'll be sorted. I'll be able to get this done, no problem. By taking the line, I mean I'm just modifying the line to a new service. So I'm putting it basically to whatever package they're now paying for. I'm putting it onto that one. But I look at the telephone pole for where the lines are coming in, and the pole is defective. So it means I can't climb it. It's illegal for me to climb this pole. If I climb this pole, there's a risk of it falling. So I can't climb that. But I see the lines. I say the only option for me here is to modify modify 2 of these lines, hopefully, one at the very least. So I go in, first of all, I'm looking at around the building inside, meet up with one of my kind of liaison for that job. Woman's really nice, right? She's offering me coffee and stuff like that. She's asking me, well, what can she do to help? She's lovely. And I kind of explain the situation to her. It's like, look, I'm going to need to get this job done. I need to modify the line. I'm like, okay, right. She's understanding everything here. She then explains their situation, the fact that this health centre has kind of been bought over by, it's got new owners now. And they're just looking to move everything across. But it says there's, like, these new owners, it's she hasn't met them yet, and she's kind of a bit anxious kind of over the situation. And I'm like, okay, no, I understand. It's general chit chat, in all honesty. Like, once I leave, I'm never going to hear about these new owners after this. But remember that, because it is important for this story. So I then start the job. She points at a socket for me to start modifying. I see that there's voltage already on this line. That is a godsend, because when there's voltage on a line, it means it goes straight to the cab where I can do the work. So again, to kind of explain some of that, the cab is basically the green box that you see outside on the streets and stuff like that. Those green boxes, that's where all your internet is. And you're basically that's where I go to do my work. So I start on this line. I'm putting it over to the new service. I come back. There's no issues whatsoever. I didn't hook it up to the modem that they've got there. Again, there's no problems. They're having decent internet, whatnot. Looked all right, good speeds, no problem at all. And then look to start doing the second line. We discussed at high length the fact that I was having to modify these lines, and then the fact that I was looking for the second line that I could use. And we found one. We found one that's not plugged into anything. We found one that's not plugged into anything, but it's got a telephone number on it. I'm like, can I take this line? She said, yeah, that's fine. I start to take it. I go to the cab, can't find it in the cab, so I'm like, okay, maybe I've done something wrong here. I head back to the health centre. This is where things change. I start looking at the socket again, and the woman that's been really lovely to me, all of a sudden sounds a bit anxious. And I'm like, oh, okay. And she starts explaining the fact that our card machine stopped working. I'm like, that's a bit bizarre. But realistically, it's nothing to do with me. I'm there to just provide the line. Any internal technology is not really down to me to fix. It's their IT department. They're meant to fix it. But I was like, you know what, General Customer Service, I'll see if I can fix this. I had experience at Nike when issues were happening with the tools. Maybe there's a way I can fix this. So I'm looking at it going, okay, I can't see why this isn't working. And then I go back to what I'm doing to try and get the internet up and basically get out of there afterwards. Then other things start going down. Next thing you know, the PC's gone down. They can't get any feeds at all for any of the machines that are in the back. And the woman's now starting to panic quite a bit. She's really not happy. Because there is somebody in the back on the health centre part that is using kind of life support machines, and they can't get any readings of them. Now, I don't fully understand how this is this affected by the internet, if I'm being honest with you. I don't know if it's maybe the fact that maybe it's just linked to the computers and they can monitor it from there. But the woman's clearly very, very anxious at this point. She's getting really angry with me. And it's all of a sudden it's completely my fault. It's saying this was working before, not before you start working on that second line. I'm like, okay, right, no worries. What I'll do is I'll put the line back. I'll put it back to the way exactly how it was before. Nothing changes. I put it back, nothing's changed. And if anything, things are starting to escalate even more. More services are going, the telephone line's gone down. and I'm like, what on earth is going on here? I cannot work out what's gone wrong. Next thing you know, the woman's gone absolutely mental and saying, you need to put this back, otherwise I'm phoning the police. We have got people that you could potentially die. And I'm like, whoa. Like, what? Like, how is this my fault? I'm trying my best to fix it. And I'm still trying to fix it, I should add. At this point, I'm trying different techniques. The woman's still having none of it. I'm still then trying a few other things at this point. Next thing you know, the police show up. And I'm going, what on earth is going on? The woman then starts shouting and then says that I am trying to kill people and that I should be arrested. And I'm just like, what? What? What is going on here? Like, I'm just kind of in disbelief, but I'm still trying to fix the problem. The police officers then come over. They start asking me a few questions. One of the officers takes the woman away from it. The other one starts questioning. The guy's obviously suspected that there's something not quite right, and I have to commend the police officer on this because he was sound. He was he kind of made sure that I was heard. I felt like I had done the everything was kind of done properly. And he listened to what I was saying. I said, look, I'm just a telecoms engineer. I've got a job for here. We had discussed at great length about the fact that I was going to be taking these lines. And that, after I'd done the first line, there was no issue. So I was like, okay, we'll continue. I put the second line back, but the issue's not fixed itself. Realistically, it's a problem for their IT team to fix. I'm doing my job here. But the woman's still having none of it. She's kind of overheard the fact and saying, no, it's all my fault. If these people die, it's because of me. At this point, I've just kind of looked at the situation and I'm like, you know what? This isn't worth my 40 quid. This isn't worth the money to do this, to be accused of attempted murder. It's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. So at this point, I then say to her, look, I'm going to put it back I'll put the first line back to the way it was. And at this point, I should add, I've already comped the first job. Because I'd already finished that. I'd done the tests. Everything was fine. Everything was working. I was like, yep, no worries. So, I'd already comped it at this point. So what I've done is I've gone back to the cab, but I was going to go back to the cab, and then the woman says, no, he's going to do a runner. I know, yes. She's then shouted and saying, I'm going to do it. I should add, there's people waiting in the waiting area, hearing this. People probably like coming to get their teeth done and are hearing that I'm here to kill people. Like, this is honestly bonkers. Like, I couldn't comprehend what was actually going on here, but this was happening, and I'm just kind of like, whoa. Like, I just need to get out of here. But I need to fix this first. I can't leave a health centre without any internet because they can't make appointments. Some of their equipment's not working properly. I need to fix this. So I then just say to the police officer, look, do you want to come with me? I'll bring you to the cab. That might put her at ease. The other police officer starts like kind of calming her down a bit, and I drive away with this police officer in my van to the cab. I undo the work I did from the first job, and then go back to the health centre, and then lo and behold, everything starts working again. Everything starts working and whatnot, and I just say I don't even say anything to the woman. I just say, look, can I go? I say that to the officer. I'm just like, look, everything seems to calm down and everything's working again. I've lost money on this job. I think at that point I'd wasted maybe 3-4 hours. And that's 3-4 hours where I'm not getting paid a dime. So I was just like, look, can I just go? I need out of there. I then get in the van and I'm just kind of processing what's happened. And honestly, my eyes start watering and I'm just like, I cannot believe that that's just happened. I cannot believe that the police have been called and I've been accused of murder. And I'm just like, this is stupid. This is so stupid. Like, what's going on? I then phoned my manager because, again, like I said with the last job, whenever you fail a job, you have to phone the manager, and they need to approve the fail, basically. And this one I had taken some pictures, so it wasn't so bad. And because I could take a picture of the pole for the reason why I couldn't provide a brand new line into the business. So that made the job significantly easier to close. I phoned the manager, and you know what? This time he was better. Like I credit, like, well, I say credit where credit's due. This time it's better. He has actually asked him I'm okay. And I'm like, you know what? Fair enough. That's all right. I appreciated this time. I was like, you know, that made me feel better about the Chippy incident. To be honest, the fact that he'd asked almost straight away, "I'm all right." And then he then says to me the fact that, look, just close the jobs down, fail them, and then look to see if there's any other work. And I was just like, at this point, I'm not doing any other jobs. I'm going home. So I don't even think I looked or anything like that. I just went straight home. Didn't hear any issues with it, so I just went straight home at that point. But he told me I was going to get a disciplinary for the job that I had comped, but had failed at the same time. And I was like, I don't care at this point. You know, sack me right now. I don't care. I just want to go home. It was a Friday. I was like, yeah, I'm going home. Calm down over the weekend. I think I came on stream as well that day. And that's where I explained this whole incident, that what happened. So if you want to look at that stream, go ahead. It's on my previous live streams, but yeah. Come Monday, I hadn't forgotten about it, but I was a lot calmer at that point. But honestly, the build up of stress at this point was mad. Like, I was just like, I could feel it. It was like hanging over me the entire time. And I was just so anxious doing any job at this point. I was like, anything could go wrong here. Like, something's going to go wrong. I'm always thinking something's going to go wrong. Like, I'm just waiting for it. And it's like, I just feel really anxious all the time with these jobs. Now I've done all sorts of jobs with them. Like, I sometimes I'm providing a brand new line where I'm actually pulling the cable across to a house. You know, sometimes I'm going into crack dens. I should add, every crack den that I have been in where I was provided internet, all the people were lovely. Funny fact for you. Fun fact, I don't know. Every crack den that I've been in to provide internet, every person there has been lovely. In fact, sometimes I've even been offered stuff. I've never taken any of it, but I mean, in fairness, like, I might could have done with something before that last job, but that's besides the point. But yeah, every character I've been to, lovely. It's just like, you got jobs like that where it was just really, well, I see you get jobs like that. You get jobs where there's a certain degree of difficulty with it, where you can't do it, and then I have issues with then closing the job because realistically they tell me, oh, have you tried everything? I say, yes, I've tried everything. And then they go, are you sure? Have you tried this, the list everything? Closing jobs when you fail them are usually a nightmare. And this is where we come to the last straw. And this is where things are really bad. This is probably the worst day of my life, probably. I can't really think of one. There's some that are close, but this is really, really bad. Day started off absolutely fine, no issues there. I then get a job in Edinburgh, and it seems standard. It seems quite simple, if I'm being honest. Like, there doesn't seem like there's any issues. Like, it looks like it's very straightforward. She had a socket in the house that looked like it was BT. For clarification, it wasn't. It was actually a Virgin line that they used the BT socket for, so it was part of the problem. But it looked straightforward. I was doing everything I should do. Couldn't get it to work. Couldn't understand it. And I then go back to the van to tell the gaffer, look, I can't do this job. I'm struggling here. I get no reply. I'm like, oh, okay, fair enough. I then try and phone a couple of times that don't get through or anything like that. I then phone another gaffer who I do get to, And the guy's just telling me, basically reassuring that everything I thought of is more or less correct. That it should be going to this cab. It should be working. This job should be doable. And I'm like, okay, I'll try again. I try again. But still not getting it working. I then get back to the van, and I then managed to talk to the gaffer, my gaffer, about the job, but he's not picking up the phone. He's not picking up the phone at all. So we chat about it over text, over WhatsApp, about the issues and whatnot. He's thinking, he's saying what I'm thinking already. This job should be doable, but for some reason it's not working. The issue was it was a Virgin line, not a BT line, which is fixable, but not by my company. It has to be BT that fix it. So I explained everything. I'm looking for a solution. I probably arrived at the job about 1 o'clock ish. I was still waiting for answers come about 4:30. And I was still getting nothing. And then he then says he's going to phone some people, try and get some answers. Like, okay, fair enough. At 4 o'clock. And then get to 6 o'clock, and I'm still there. Well, at this point, I'd actually left the house. I'd gone to the shops to go get food because I was starving. 6 o'clock ish. At this point, I'm getting quite anxious. It's hard for me to describe why I was getting anxious, but I was. I think at this point I was kind of feeling the fact that this shouldn't be this hard. I have another job that I need to go to, but it's ages away. If I go there and then have to come back, that's an issue. So I'm caught between a rock and a hard place, really. But all because I can't get any answers. So I'm getting a bit anxious, but I'm saying to him, look, I'm not going to be out all night here. Give me an answer. Can I do this job or not? He then says he's going to phone other people. I'm like, oh, for God's sake, right? Come on. And I can feel myself getting like upset at this point. Like I can feel it at the back of my like throat that it's just I'm not feeling right here. Like something's really not good. And again, we're still texting at this point. And I think at one point I actually say to him, look, you either give me an answer now or I'm going home. And at this point he's gone off his nut. He's not having the fact that I'm just about to walk off site. And I think he goes through me a little bit. I can't remember exactly. I don't have pictures of that text, but I do have later on. You'll find out. So at this point, I think at this point I just start greeting, and I don't know why, or crying for those that don't understand what greeting is. I don't really know why. If I'm being honest with you. But we're still texting at this point. Like it's like, and like, give me an answer. I'm going home, kind of thing. Give me an answer. And I'm not getting anywhere. I'm not getting anywhere at all. At this point, it's about 7 o'clock ish. I think. Yeah, it's about 7 o'clock. If I remember correctly from the text, it's about 7 o'clock. At this point, I start to feel quite numb. And all of a sudden, I'm full blown tears. Tears are streaming down my face. I am an absolute mess. I then text him saying, at this point, I think I'm having a panic attack. Now, I've never had any issues with mental health or anything like that before. I didn't know what a panic attack was like. So I'm kind of like guessing at this point. I'm like, I think I'm having a panic attack. And what the biggest thing I actually remember from this was that I couldn't. It was weird. It's like all of a sudden my hands just kind of clenched up like this, and I couldn't open them. It was just like it was a massive effort to try and just like I was like trying my best to kind of get these open, and it just they just wouldn't. And I'm like I'm now worrying now that I'm in this van. I can't open the door. I can't grab the steering wheel. I can't start the van because my hands won't open. And I'm getting more anxious. And the next thing you know, I feel lightheaded and I've hit my head on the steering wheel. and there's a little mark under one of my eyes. I think it's that one there. Yeah, that one there. Where I kind of had a bit of a black eye underneath. It wasn't bad, but I think it's because I hit like the side of my nose on it. And I kind of blacked out briefly, and then opened my eyes, and I still can't open my hands at this point, but I'm calmer. I'm calmer at this point. I still can't open my hands at this point, and next thing you know, like my hands start to open a little bit. But you know what it felt like? It felt like you know when you after you have pins and needles, you know that kind of weird kind of tingling sensation you have afterwards, where it's like, you know, it's hard to describe. It really is. But the best way I can find is after pins and needles. If anyone that's had pins and needles might understand what I mean by this. But both my hands felt like that. I didn't get my phone at this point. I didn't text them. I should have. There's about a 10-minute gap here from when I've texted them for saying I think I'm having a panic attack to my next text. So this is all happening in the space of about 10 minutes. I then say to him, I really don't feel well. I then tried to ring him, I think. It's like, you see there, I tried to ring him and then I text him. I think, I can't remember which way around it was, but I know full well I tried to phone him and he hung up immediately. He just denied the call. And this is after I've already texted him the fact that I've said, I think I'm having a panic attack. I've said this is about 10 minutes afterwards. He's then hung up. He just denied the call. Would not take it. I then said that in fact I feel really unwell. I need to go home. He's then kind of texts back at me, right? At this point, like obviously there was only about 2-3 minutes or so after that text. They didn't text me saying that just go home, but it's kind of the way it's texted. It's almost like he's shouting at me, and I'm like, whoa, like come on. But I don't think much of it. And I hadn't noticed him originally that just underneath it he said close the job. So that job I was just on, he wanted me to close it, fail it. But I hadn't seen that originally. So, I then get myself calm, as calm as I could feel, but I still feel quite lightheaded, I should add. I still felt a bit shaken up. I then start driving back, and I'm driving really under the speed limit. Like, I am on 30 roads, I'm maybe driving at 15. I then managed to get onto the motorway, M8, and I'm probably driving maybe 40 at most. Then the motorway, it's absolutely pouring down with rain. It's about 7:30 at this point. It's pitch black. I then start to feel myself go again. I then start to feel my eyes just get really, really heavy. And I'm like, I'm about to go again. Like, I'm about to pass out. This is really fuzzy for me. I consciously felt that I was going to go again. And I know full well that I took my foot off the accelerator. That I know I did consciously, and because of the rain, that kind of helped slow me down a bit. I think because I was heading straight into the rain, so I think the kind of pressure that was maybe helping a little bit. But all of a sudden, I black out, and I'm still traveling on the M8 at this point. I should add, I black out behind the wheel, and I'm extremely, extremely lucky that when I blacked out, the motorway was turning right. But it was a long right that we were turning. And so I end up into the breakdown lane. And I think by the time the time that I actually kind of open my eyes, I've just about hit the grass on the side. For those that know where the M8 is, there's a bit in between Edinburgh and Livingston where there is a mount for where a police car would be. It's after the junction to get to the Forth Road Bridge, and it's after the Newbridge junction, and it's on a kind of mount of grass. It was just after that I got to that where I managed to get my van under control. I was only at this point maybe traveling at maybe 5 or 10 miles an hour. I was still moving, but I wasn't moving fast, and I got extremely lucky, like extremely lucky. Uh, I hate to think of what it would have been like if I had been traveling any faster, or if I hadn't woken up at that point. Because I know full well after the grass bit there's a river, and a big drop after it. So I am extremely, extremely lucky, and I cannot believe it. I'll be honest with you. That I was able to come back and even be standing here, because that is terrifying. The thought of that. And I get home, and I'm still shaking at this point. I don't know if it's just because of the after effects of me having this panic attack, whether it's the fact that I'm still thinking about the fact that I had passed out and on the M8. At this point, I just didn't feel right in any way. I get home, and I think at this time, I got home. I think it was maybe about 20 past 8, half 8, maybe. I can't remember fully. I feel like it was close to 9 o'clock, but I can't. My memory's a bit fuzzy about the timing wise, but I know it took me roughly about an hour to get home. And anyone that knows Edinburgh to Livingston, it's about a 20-minute journey. So, yeah, it took me about an hour to get home, and I come in. Mum and Dad, at first, I don't think they look at me straight away. It's just but my dad makes a kind of joke. Oh, it's another late one, is it? Yeah. And then I just tell them kind of the fact that I had just had a panic attack. I think at this point they looked up and seen that I was visibly shaken. And I know full well my mum was fuming. At this point I hadn't told them the fact that I'd actually passed out on the M8. That was more or less because I was trying not to worry them too much. I told them I had passed out beforehand, and I think my mum was like fuming at the fact that I've been allowed to drive after that. My mum was like, "Why didn't you phone when you did this?" I wasn't in the right mind. I wasn't in any way. I wasn't. I couldn't think straight, if I'm being honest. I just wanted to get home. I just wanted to get back. I wanted to get back home safe. But I didn't think of the method of doing that was the correct method by driving back. No, it wasn't. I shouldn't have driven in any way. I was not in the right state to do that. So yeah, I drove. So I'm back at the house. I kind of clean myself up and stuff like that, and I get to this very spot where I am now, sitting at my desk. And my work phone is going mental because I haven't closed the job yet. At no point during this is he asked me if I'm all right. And then close the job down, and then text him say, "Look, I'm not going to be in tomorrow." I look and I've still got jobs on me for tomorrow, but I'm not looking. Like I'm just, like at this point, I just switch my phone off, work phone off, and yeah, not long after that, go to bed after some whiskey. I go to bed, and I slept really well. Like I would say, I was quite surprised. I slept very, very well. I feel like I felt physically drained. So by the time I was sleeping at this point, I was just like, yeah, knocked out immediately. And then get up, get a doctor's appointment, go see the doctor. And I should add, at this point, I'm kind of, because I never had any mental health issues beforehand. It's not the fact that I didn't think people were going to believe me when I went in. I feel like they were just going to be thinking, "Oh, is this guy being serious?" And I know it's bad to think that, but that was what I was thinking at the time. I was thinking, oh, are these guys actually going to believe me when I go in? And I have to say that the doctors were amazing. They were really, like, it was a doctor and a student doctor, but both of them were class. Both of them were brand new. They listened to me. They were like, they could see that I was physically still shooken up from the night before. And they offered me a lot of extras that I didn't actually take up on because I didn't feel like I needed it. They offered me some medication, which I did take. And like after having them, I did feel better. I felt a bit more in control, which was definitely helped me. But I knew full well at that point I had to get out of this job. I just knew at that point, no matter what, I cannot be there in a month. I couldn't do another month. I was just like, nope, I can't do this. I get back to the house and I've not really spoken to the manager at this point. I should add, this panic attack happens on the Wednesday night. This day we're on is the Thursday. I get back and about 3 o'clock ish, thereabouts, my manager phones me. And this is on my personal phone because my work phone is still turned off. And he phones me to ask me if I'm going to be in the next day. I kind of said, no, mate, I'm not. I'm just not right. And he then proceeds to say straight away after that, look, we're really heavy for work the next day. I'm going to need you to come in and see if you can pick up the jobs he was telling me. There was loads of the kind of £9 jobs. So £9 ones are usually very straightforward. They're quite easy to do. Very little problems with them, and usually you can bang one out in half an hour. But he was offering me about 8 of them and a 25 quid job that could be a problem, might not be a problem, but it could be a problem. So yeah, roughly like more or less like a day's work is kind of what he was offering me at this point, and I just say to him, no, I can't do it. And it's at this point where he kind of just goes, well, what's wrong with you? And it's kind of said in that kind of tone, the kind of tone that I was like, I thought that I was going to get from the doctor, which I know seems really bizarre. Doctors are there to, they want to help, but for some reason I just felt like that was what I was going to get. The doctor, I didn't get that. I got somebody who really listened, and it was really kind of, I don't even know what to call it, relief to kind of be able to get it off my chest and kind of talk about the job and why it was causing me so many issues. But at this point he kind of goes, well, what's wrong with you? And then I explain it all. And I don't think he really twigged that I was being serious at this point until I said I'd been actually given medication. Now I should add as well, because I'm self-employed at this point, I'm getting paid for none of the time that I'm off. Like, I am currently earning nothing. So yeah, I'm just there at my desk, kind of explaining to this guy everything that happened the night before and whatnot, and then his tone changes when I mention the medication. And then I say to him about the fact that I am looking to come back on the Tuesday. Now, yeah, it's at this point that he then states the fact that, oh, well, we don't want you to come back too early because obviously we want to make sure that you're okay and all that. This is like, at this point, it just seems like he's kind of, it's very two-faced, it's very phony. It's not, he doesn't mean it. It's not very genuine. But again, I'm not going to make it more than what it is. I'm just like, no, okay, yeah, no, but I'll let you know on Monday. How I'm feeling. So yeah. I then managed to get an interview for the job I'm in now. And when I got offered the job, I literally asked, "Can I start earlier?" Because I was just like, I need out, and luckily they helped me. I won't go into what my job is now, but I managed to finally get out. And when I got the out, I like again, it was relief to get out of the job that I was in there, but it did also present another problem. Um, because I'm self-employed in this job, I am kind of worried about um the fact that if I hand my notice in, I could get sacked there and then end up being done out of maybe 3 weeks' wages. Um, and so I then talked to a couple of the buddies that I had beforehand about the situation, and they all say to me, "Don't even hand in your notice, just leave," because they will do it. And they all told me basically, look, if when you end up leaving Kelly's, just leave, because what they'll do is that you hand in your notice, they could tell you just to go there and then. They could try and look for other ways to get do you out money. So I was very anxious about handing in my notice because I was like, I just don't want to be done without wages. Next thing you know, I get a phone off my manager. It was about 2 weeks or so before I was due to leave ish. Maybe a bit less than that, and he's like asking, "Look, are you planning to leave? Like, are you leaving?" And I said, I did say at this point I didn't know. I did say at this point I didn't know, even though I did know that I was leaving, that I was planning to leave. But it was partially because I just didn't want to be done out of money. I just didn't want my money to be taken. So I then expressed, look, I am looking elsewhere. I did say that to him, but at the moment, I'm planning to stay. And he was like, okay, fair enough, but we need to make sure that the business is in the right place. We want to make sure that you're enjoying the work. Basically, a spiel that I've heard before, and I'm just like, come on, like you don't mean any of this, man. You just don't, because it's infuriating. Now I stated beforehand that I don't hate anyone in this story. And one of the reasons I don't hate anyone is because I also looked at it from the manager's point of view. The manager's point of view, the pressure that he was getting put under for jobs to be done is kind of unfair, in my opinion. Realistically, the engineers need to come first, and then it's the job. If the job is extremely difficult or the person's not qualified and there's no other suitors to be able to take it, put it back to BT. BT can spend an entire day on a job, get paid the same. If I was to spend the entire day on the job, I'd only get paid for that one job. So some days I was only earning, I think on my lowest earnings one day was £9. Like, you know what I mean? Because I could spend the entire day on a job and it fails. So, yeah, I don't hate him. Anyway, in fact, actually, I have a lot of respect because he did actually help me in a lot of other ways, even though in the stories that I've given you here, he's not coming off great. But in general, the manager was actually quite good. It was just when it came to me leaving and whatnot, and like the instant where I had to leave, where it was just, I felt like I was failed a little bit. But I would have left regardless of who was manager. If I'm being honest, if those incidents had happened, I was leaving regardless. Because the job itself is not good. Now they upped the wages, and there's even potential to earn like in a 70, 80k a year if you really go for it. But you have to be there a while to be good enough to be earning that kind of money, or even close to it. And I just wasn't willing to do it. There's more important things in life than money, and I wanted the flexibility. I had mentioned beforehand, one of the reasons I left Nike was the fact that I wanted the flexibility. I wanted to have the potential to look at football coaching again. I wanted the potential to look at making content. I wanted the potential to have flexibility so that I wasn't living to work and working instead of working just to live, so I could get out and experience the world again. I wanted things that I wasn't getting with Kelly's, and it didn't fix any of the issues that I had. In fact, I would have rather stayed at Nike, than have gone to this job by a country mile, because Nike was unreal. It was so good to me, and I was spoiled maybe in many ways by how good they are as a company. That I kind of maybe I was a bit naive going into this job, thinking that I was going to get similar treatment, and I just didn't. So, self-reflection there. But it did look unreal. But anyway, it came to me leaving. I think on the Friday before I left, I then told them and handed them a notice officially. And a week later I was gone, handed my keys back and whatnot. Because at that point I was like, well, if he sacks me with a week to go, it's not a big impact on my wages at this point. I made sure I'd worked enough to cover off my bills and I'd been paid beforehand. So I'd got my wages for that, and if he was going to kick me for a week to go, then fair enough. And then worked the last week, did pretty much bare minimum. I'm not going to lie to you. I did as little work as I could have done. I probably failed a couple of jobs I actually shouldn't have. But I wasn't putting my put myself out to kind of finish the job as well. I was kind of working to how I felt I'd been treated, which is the only time I've ever done that in my life. Usually I have a very high work ethic. I'm very much wanting to work as much as I can, but in this job I just was not willing. I just wasn't willing. I felt like I'd been let down by the company, not by the manager. Again, I need to express that. And I felt like I'd been let down, and it just made me not want to work. It just made me not want to work there. And I needed to get out as soon as possible. So once I got out of the company, once I was in the job I'm in now, a kind of big sense of relief. Even in the vibes in the company I'm in now are really good. And it's looking really, really positive. I still took a break from creating content. I felt like I needed it. Not that it was very taxing on content creation. I just needed a break from everything. I just needed a break from everything. And so I wasn't active. I wasn't active in like socials, Twitch, YouTube, anything at all. I just wasn't there. And it was because I just needed that kind of detox from it all, because it was essential. I feel miles better now. It all started me feeling better from the moment that I went to the doctor and spoke about it. The tipping point obviously was the panic attack. It obviously was a build up of just so much stress, just kind of clouding over me. And once it just spilled over, and I was a mess. And I can gladly say now that I am in a significantly better place now. I am so much happier with how things are planning out. To have the flexibility I have now is unreal. And I am looking forward to creating a lot more content again. With the fact that I've got this flexibility I'm looking forward to looking to kind of coach football again, which is something I absolutely miss a lot. And yeah, it's a good place to be. I think that's going to be me on this podcast. It's got a nice happy ending, which is it's always good. My advice for anyone on this is don't get to that breaking point. That was one of the worst experiences I've ever had in my life. I don't know how to describe it without getting emotional again, I'll be honest with you. Because it, like, from what I've said here, it's the best I can do. It's just one of the worst experiences I've ever had in my life. I felt so unbelievably powerless. And it shouldn't have got to that point. It shouldn't. So, yeah. Thank you for anyone that's listened or watched this entire podcast. I appreciate everyone that has. I imagine the only people that are maybe watching this long are people that actually, know me outside of YouTube and whatnot, or maybe people that were just wondering what was going on with me. But thank you so much. I will be back more regularly. I'll be a lot more active. And we're a lot better place now. So thank you all very much. And I'll catch you around. Adios.